Well, thank you, CryptoRick, for coming to this channel. I appreciate you. And for anyone that don't know him, his name is CryptoRick, CryptoCurrent. His link will be in the description below. And you should give him a subscribe as well. He comes up with great content, so watch out for his videos. But just starting off this interview, if you can just tell me about a background story about yourself and how you got into cryptocurrencies.
Yeah, look, I got into crypto probably about a year and a half ago.
Okay.
Basically, it was by accident. I I happened to kind of read about cryptocurrency, but it wasn't until a relative of mine actually got downloaded Binance, and he said, "Rick, I just downloaded this Binance app," and I was just shocked. I was like, "Wow!" Like previous to that, cryptocurrency was something far away. It would never really hit home to me until finally, someone close to me actually got into it. And I that night I then downloaded the app and I started going through it. And then that's when I basically started to accumulate and learn about. And pretty much because I wanted to know what to invest in, I started obviously watching YouTube channels, basically Coin Bureau, to pretty much tell me what each coin was, because I had no clue. And like many other people, I bought the wrong coins. I bought all the crap coins. And then I realized, okay, why, Coin Bureau does a great job, but it's 45 minutes. Isn't there a channel out there that can summarize each project, but in like 5 to 15 minutes? So I decided, you know what, why don't I just do it, So that's how I basically began my channel, is a kind of Coin Bureau Lite 2.0 that summarizes each project, but in a succinct manner. And then after that, basically I started getting into ISO and all that, and basically became a researcher from there.
Yep. So very interesting, because when a lot of people come into cryptocurrencies, they basically want to neglect the learning steps, And once they hear about such coins as, I don't want to mention some coins, but let's say Shiba Inu, they just invest in it because they hear a lot of talking about it. But just like you said, a learning curve, somebody close to you told you, so it gave you the confidence to invest in it and check it out yourself. As we always say, do the research yourself. Everything is in the pudding. But it's very nice that you said that, because you put in the work and then you found out what Binance is, you did all that, and then you came to a conclusion saying, why don't I do it? Why don't we give back to the community just in a concise manner? So I really do appreciate your take on that one.
Yeah, basically I started off like everyone else. I made all the mistakes. I've lost money. I've lost money in bridges. I've been rug pulled. I've been soft rug pulled, quick rug pulled, every type of rug pulled. And like you said, I did about 3 to 4 hours of research a day on each project, and I put in the yards, and that's where I've come today. I'm just a normal person. I don't have a financial background. I'm not into stocks or shares. Yeah. I just happen to be at that time and at that place.
There we go. The perfect time and perfect place. It happens, and then you got a wind of it, and then you made the best out of it. Perfect. Well, diving in a little deeper, so what made you get into finance? So have you been, are you looking for lifestyle or pursuit of happiness when you get this money that you're looking for from investing into these cryptos, such as returns, or achieving any financial goals that you have? Or, some would say they want to buy a house, so they invest in cryptocurrencies to get some type of return. So what would you say your point of view is on that?
My point of view is obviously to get rich. There's no surprise. My view is more of a hold and not really day trade. I don't really do much day trade or leveraging. Okay. I think people try and predict, with Fibonacci and all these technical analysis, but the reality is nobody knows if the stock market's going to go up, down, sideways, left and right. It's all a Fugazi. And basically, if you're not an insider, it's actually risky to do leverage trading and day trading. Me personally, I just hodl. In terms of, as I said, my background is not financial, and my goals initially was to learn about cryptocurrency, to invest in it. But now it's also an interest, and it's become an interest in that this is a new field where I can put my thoughts and my perspectives earlier on, before it's been, I guess, already, like we were born in a generation where everything was already done. All the science was solved, all the finances were solved. We didn't get a chance to really put our thoughts into something that's in the wild, wild west. So besides the financial interest in wanting to get rich and obviously retire and buy a house and buy the car and all that, it's also an interest to be early in the field and to actually have a role in shaping it, at least indirectly.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, because I still believe that we are extremely early. Adoption is a lot ways to come for us to see these high prices mentioned by a lot of people. We still have, I feel, a long ways to go, but we're still early. So as being part of anything early, again, nothing new under the sun, blah, 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 continue the spiel, but we are basically the forefront of this technology being revealed to the public. And the technology that Ripple presents, and some of them that we're able to see, some of the technology we're not able to see, are very, the best way I can put it is technology that I don't even believe most countries have caught up to. So being up this early and presenting our viewpoint to the audience and sharing it with each other is a very, very huge impact on the community as it grows more. And then they can take this view and implement it on technologies they see or the future of basically our life, our finance, or anything else as well.
I agree. 100% agree.
Okay, so continuing on with this, so what are your hobbies? What are you involved in? What you find interesting? And of course, you told me about the cryptocurrency, but other than crypto, what do you like to do?
Basically, I like reading. I like reading a lot, ancient history, different languages, different cultures. In terms of sports, I basically like to play, NRL. We have rugby league down here in Australia, but the touch version. We also I follow the NBA from afar, but not religiously. Basically, I'm occasionally go to the gym. I'm not extremely buff guy, but I do enjoy going to the gym. But basically, I just like reading into history and philosophy, and that's basically my interest is understanding the past, the history, and reading up on not like revisionist type history, not the mainstream history, but revisionism. And I'm really heavy into revisionist history and philosophy and all of that, and theology, all of that I like to read up on.
Because they all correlate, and there's a lot of saying that history will basically tell you what will happen in the future, or history is a making of what can come in the future. And we could really learn a lot from history, and we're living in the current times as well. So if we correlate it to each other, then we could potentially see where the world is headed, with what basically repeating itself slowly.
That's right.
Very interesting. Okay, so before we get into the breakdown of the XRP questions, I have one more question. So how do you prioritize your time and manage risks with the markets, going up and down, fluctuating, especially the market crisis going on currently? So any tips on management? As you said, you do hold, so it is very great.
Yeah. Look, even though I don't like Warren Buffett, I'm going to quote him. He said, don't invest in something that you're not willing to hold for the next 10 years. So the way I manage risk is basically I don't sell anything during a bear market or during a bull market. I'm holding it for the long-term use. And the ones that I really believe in, I pretty much plan not to ever sell. And that includes staking in the future, earning passive income and interest. I'm not that type of person to, sell just because we're in to manage risk or whatever. I know some people, for example, they're selling their Solana. I hypothetically hold some Solana too, but I'm not selling it because it would be stupid to just sell it when I've lost money on it. So for me, I'd rather it go to zero and do a Luna and still hold it rather than sell it and make a loss. Because for me, you never know what can happen. Solana may turn around, we can't predict the future. So my view is I just pick the best possible assets. I hold 99% of them. I don't sell. I just stake and I just wait for the market to recover. But it's not financial advice. I know people that do other strategies and they sell, and that's good for them and that's how they manage their risk. But for me, I think with cryptocurrency, because we're pre-adoption, it would be foolish to be buying and selling the precious assets, because you never know, at any point it could just take off.
That's correctly right, and I agree with that as well. And of course, I would agree as well that most of the cryptocurrency community wouldn't really agree with Warren Buffett, but he does have some great quotes, and he does something right for him to end up in that position that he's in. But holding, just like you said, holding your any type of investment that you have is, I agree with that. So I just want to say something. It's better for it to go to zero than you take it at a loss, because just like you said, if you give it some time, it may come back. You know, it's like you said, we can't predict the future, but if you're already in a loss, you're already losing. But if you
As I
give
said,
it some time, exactly, then it may come back up. So a loss can be a zero, which you're already in losing, negative. You know, you're already in the negative, so there's no point in selling and then taking a loss. And then this is why it happened to people that invested, early investors in Bitcoin, any investment that came out, people invested in, sold at a loss, and then look where it's at now. And then now they're complaining on Twitter saying, "Wow, I should have kept my money." It is what it is. Not financial advice, but thank you for that advice.
Yeah, no problems. And yeah, I agree with you 100%. In for a penny, in for a pound.
Yeah, perfectly well said. All right, guys, so we're going to get straight into the XRP breakdown questions. So very, very interesting. I like to dig your brain on these questions because I agree with a lot of things you say, and it makes me think, you know, and a lot of XRP videos are just about talking about the lawsuit and stuff, but there's a whole different side of XRP that we're not looking into. So what are XRP and XLM to you? Just starting off with the first question.
Firstly, they are agnostic, supranational currencies, which I believe will obviously try and tokenize everything. This includes the derivatives market. This includes, cross-border settlements, high-value settlements, etc. But I also believe it has more implications. Basically, it's going to be used as type of galactic currencies, and people, for people that may not know, you know, the symbology and the names, and we're probably going to talk about this later, but basically they have space references. So I think it was originally created by like the NSA, you know, the governments, etc. And they were employed to create these currencies, and Bitcoin was the first one that they tried to create to kind of be compatible with CBDCs, digital money. The whole plan was to get rid of cash. But then after they achieved that goal, they said, all right, what else can we do? And the next step was tokenize everything. Then after they tokenized everything, they're like, what else can we do? Okay, we can use it as space, remittance, offline technology, one that you don't need internet. And I think XLM and XRP are exactly that. They plan to do basically everything.
Perfectly well said. You know, I couldn't add any more to this, what you said. It was perfectly well said, and we will get into some deeper questions about the intergalactical currencies that you mentioned. So what do you think is holding XRP back from, taking off, such as regulations and this worldwide adoption that we're all hoping to see in the community?
Basically, I think there's a lot of reasons, but I think the main reason is because there's a private ledger that exists, and people don't know this, right? ODL has already gone live. ISO has already gone live. CBDCs are already being transacted. But we haven't seen any price change in the public XRP price. And you will see other YouTubers, they'll say it's because there's no regulation and all that. But remember, the Ripple lawsuit is only in America. So we can't just take a small pie and say that's the whole reason why XRP price hasn't pumped. The true reason, and this is why I'm a very controversial figure in the space, I'm the only one that's arguing it's because there's some dodgy stuff happening in the private ledgers. Pretty much what I believe is happening is that they are using a similar, a non-tradable asset that's similar to XRP. It may even be XRP, but with a small line of coding that's changed. That's basically given to them in private with a different supply that's not correlated to our $100 billion supply. And I believe that Jed McCaleb was tasked with selling these private XRP-like tokens on the back end at a cheaper price. And that's the reason why the feds, the central bankers, are not interested in buying up our public XRP, because if it was really that simple, the public XRP would have been bought up in a second in the mid 2015s or whatever. It would have been done. But we're still seeing some supply on the exchanges, and one has to ask. Bankers are normally very shrewd people, and if they knew that this was the only token, they would have scooped everything up. And then we see that Ripple created an LLC called XRP2, and there was this previous settlement that actually occurred before this one, relating to FinCEN. And basically what my theory is, and this is, again, what I think is going on is private banks have their own private ledgers, okay? And some of them don't actually need to use XRP, as in our XRP. They could use the Ripple technology directly to convert from CBDCs back and forth. They still use the Ripple tracks, but they don't use the Ripple train. And then further to this, I think they've been given another non-tradable asset token. It could be XRP, it could not be XRP. It could be XRP, but with a different line of coding that prevents it from being used in arbitrage. So a common response to this is, oh, that can't be true because David Schwartz already said so, because David Schwartz already said that people could arbitrage. But if Ripple put in a line of coding on this new token or this XRP-like token that said it can't be used on the public ledger, it could only be used in private, but is interoperable with our XRP on the public ledger, then that could fit, and they could have their own supply that's completely vaulted off. And there's people that are actually arguing that the reason why they have their own vaulted, let's say XRP or XRP-like token, let's call that XRP2. The reason why it's vaulted off is to prevent volatility, because banks don't like volatility. They're not going to take the chance and let the price of XRP fluctuate in the public, whereas they can have their own kind of vaulted off and used accordingly. I obviously can't prove this. Ripple will never come out and say this, because basically they're open to fraud if they were to declare this. This is just my suspicions. I could be wrong, but I think something's going on.
Well, thank you for that elaborate answer, because it really does dive deep into it. And I do have to say, I'd have to agree with some points you made, because it makes no sense for a price to be the current price that it is if it's truly being, used around with the banks, and it is only one country, again, really having it under scrutiny, being the United States. So if it wasn't a private ledger and the banks were still transmitting, then how could the price be the same? It makes no sense. So from my eyes, that there has to be something that they're using in order for the price to remain the same and for them to continue their transactions. And I'm sure you've seen the interview with Val Hill as well. They made Black Swan, and he said, and somewhere in the lines of, if they decide on the price to be 50,000, then they could decide the price to be 50,000. And if they decide for one XRP to be 1 million, then they could decide for it to be 1 million. But we're not seeing those transactions. Like we said, the bankers are not our friends. They're not going to reveal everything to us. And there was another clip that Brad Garlinghouse was speaking about, saying about some in Dubai or Saudi Arabia, saying, why are our transactions public? And that also initiates to us that there is another ledger, and the Ripple also mentioned that they're the private ledger. So just wanted to expand on what you said, because it makes sense. The price cannot be stable, or at least a fraction of cents that it's at right now, and them using it to the fullest capability that it's meant for. So there's definitely using, or a code switch. I'm in cybersecurity, so if they give me the code, I'll probably figure out what code it is, but there's probably a little bit of switch that there's happening, and they're using some type of technology. It's definitely a Ripple technology, but that's a perfect way to say it, where you said it's on the same tracks, but not the same train. That's just a perfect illustration. Yeah. Exactly.
And look, ODL going live, if they are using our XRP, we should have it being pumped to $10, $100 easy. Exactly. Then ISO going live, that should have pumped it to another 1,000, probably more. Jed McCaleb, dumping his coins, we should have seen immediately the price move, but it didn't.
Mm-hmm.
So you're right, something is going on. Of course, we don't know exactly what's going on. They may not even use the XRP token, our one. You know, they could be using some other Ripple technology. We don't know.
Exactly.
But we now need to start asking the questions. And I actually personally tweeted David Schwartz, and I said, here's a list of demands that I have. These are the list of questions I have. And, you know, we don't want any more diversive, because he's very roundabout. You know, he tries to be evasive. He doesn't answer the question. People think, haha, he's a riddler. He's not. He just doesn't want to admit that there's something going on in the private ledger. And going back to your Val Hill statement, you're completely correct. Nobody picked up on that. Val Hill clearly said the XRP that they're going to be using is an agreed price, not the market price. It's an agreed price. And in my videos, I showed that this is possible because on the private ledger or on the private side chains, basically the nodes are made up of self-elected nodes. So they pretty much are the nodes. So if they decide by consensus that this is the price and this is the token that we're going to use, nobody can stop them because they're not back in the public to be scrutinized. There's no nodes that can scrutinize that thing.
Yeah. And that's what, you know, that's where I believe that we fit in this cryptocurrency space or in this XRP community, because we need to bring the truth to the light. And there's a lot of things going on. We're not here to blame people, anything like that. At the end of the day, if you signed an NDA, you don't have to speak about it, you know. But when we do the digging and we find out the truth, then it's as our part to help out the community. We should just speak of the truth.
That's right.
Okay, perfect. So continuing on to the lawsuits. This is just one question about the lawsuit. So what are your thoughts on the lawsuit of Ripple by the SEC?
I think what happened was they had the actual lawsuit many years ago, but it was secretly settled. And I believe it had something to do with that XRP2 LLC and that FinCEN. Basically, they then filed another lawsuit on paper, but it was just it's a real lawsuit, but it's basically a fake lawsuit. So it's a real lawsuit, but it's just filed after the fact. And I think what's going to happen is this one will drag on probably till next year, around about anywhere between March to April, which coincides with when USA goes live with ISO. And I think if it doesn't end there, then we might see an extension based on either appeal or movement to Supreme Court, or a trial, as an example. So if they wanted to quickly end this, they can just come out with a judgment. Or if they wanted to delay it more, the powers that be could work towards a trial or an appeal, which will then delay the case till late 2023. Based on Ripple's statement that 50% of wallets, they anticipate that 50% of wallets will have digital assets by 2024. I predict that basically by the end of 2023, they have to flip the switch, because they anticipate that 50% of the world will basically be using XRP by 2024. So based on that, their own admission, something has to give next year. Something has to give. We don't know if it's going to be, and I can see the summary judgment going either way. I can see it being declared as a security, and then Ripple appealing, then going to a trial or a Supreme Court, and then that Supreme Court overrides that decision. Or I could see them declaring it as a non-security, as a digital currency or a digital asset, and then Ripple winning. Either way, it's pre-scripted, and I don't really pay attention to it because it's all fake. And we see Ripple yacht parties. We've seen Brad Garlinghouse smiling, drinking cocktails. And even Mel Carmine said that there's documents basically saying that Ripple have already settled with the SEC, and so I believe that it's already done. But basically, they want to continue the fake show.
Yeah, and it's funny because this is another one of the specific topics that we agree upon by it being a fake lawsuit. But again, to the public, it needs to be real. But when I look at the other side and I look at Ripple, you know, when you're in a lawsuit, you don't have to be depressed. You don't have to. But the way they're moving, they're still moving to different countries and making huge deals that no other cryptocurrency, at least in my eyes, have done. You know, XLM maneuvers in the dark, but there's no other cryptocurrency company that has this many deals with banks, that has this many deals with nations that I have seen other than XRP. And they're still continuing the process to make these deals. And just like you said, when I seen the tweet from them saying by 2024 that 50% would be CBDCs, it just blew my mind. I said, there's no way this can be delayed any further than it has already been delayed. And not financial advice to anybody watching, but at least for myself, the best thing I'm doing right now is accumulating, because we won't get this chance anytime. When this thing is over, we talked about it, and the price may shoot right up. The price may shoot a little bit and then keep going up. But hey, for myself, I'm just doing the best I can. If I'm preaching something, then I'm going to do it, to the best of my abilities. Wherever my mouth is at is where my actions are. So I just wanted to add that on. But definitely, it made me think a little bit by them tweeting and saying by 2024, 50% will be on CBDCs. 50% of the world population, at least. And they're still in the lawsuit. So why are they proceeding with that if they're in a lawsuit and they're continually talking about the future when they don't even know their judgment of their lawsuit? So they're just like contradicting phases that they're going between them back and forth. And it just, it clicked to me. Then it keeps reoccurring, and it makes me know that I'm not going crazy by saying this lawsuit is just fake.
No, you're completely right. There's a lot of contradictions, and the list is long of their contradictions. But basically, you're right. And I think that a lot of people out there, like you said, you should still accumulate XRP, because even the public XRP is going to have a lot of value, because it's going to be interoperable with the private. And also, it's going to have all the public remittance, public real estate is going to go on there. So we're not saying this to FUD anyone out.
Yeah.
We're not saying this we're just critiquing, but we're still holding. Okay, so that's what I wanted to say.
Yeah, perfect. And we touched on basis of Ripple CBDC agenda, but just a little bit more speaking on points. Where do you think this CBDC agenda will be headed into? A lot of people, or some people I'll say, have said into the social credit system and coming into all what's going on in China and implementation with all that technology in the United States and around the world. What are your viewpoints on that?
Sure. I think CBDCs are inevitable. It's not an if, it is coming. Yeah. But the difference is whether it's going to be a retail CBDC or not. Basically, the difference is one of the CBDCs won't be as tyrannical, so it won't have the expiry, it won't have these requirements, it won't be linked to your whatever. That's the best possible outcome we could get. It's just a digital currency that's normal. If we go to ones that are tyrannical, then that's the problem, where it's linked to basically your carbon credits and other things. It's got an expiry. You can only choose certain merchants that are approved by the government to spend it. And basically, that will be the end of wealth creation. In terms of viewpoints on Ripple, I think Ripple was originally a black hat company. And people were saying that, as an example, David Schwartz and the NSA were private contractors of the Rothschilds, and the Rothschilds actually owned Ripple. But then the white hats co-opted it, or kind of captured Ripple technology. And this is all the thing about QAnon and all that. But the point is that they're saying now they're white hats. So Ripple are trying to get the good CBDC out, not the bad CBDC. But then there are others that say, no, Ripple attended Davos, therefore they're trying to get out the bad CBDC. Basically, I released a video, and this is from We Are Sovereign YouTube. Basically, there was a white hat who released that there are classes coming, a class S for sovereigns, a class C for commoners, and basically based on your designation. So all those celebrities, Hollywooders, the financial elite are all class S's, so they don't have carbon score requirements. They can freely move about. Whereas the commoner, which is 99% of society, will be restricted based on their carbon credits and where they can go. And we just hope that that's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, of course, we hope for the best, prepare for the worst. But if you said the S class, just making sure, is like the above the commoner, that's the top tier class, right? Elites. Okay, so if we're comparing the elites to the commoner, how will XRP protect the investor? Will that give you a little bump up on the road, just so you can wait a little bit because you're securing your XRP and they won't come after you to hit you with these tyrannical CBDCs, or would that not even help you in the situation of tyrannical CBDCs?
It's unknown, but my gut feeling is it will help a little bit, because if you have value that's not CBDC, even if there's an expiry, you can always slowly convert your XRP into CBDCs every month, and that way ensure your financial longevity. But I can't foresee a scenario where, because you're an XRP holder and you're rich, they suddenly change your class from class common to class sovereign. I think class sovereign specifically refers to those who are not under maritime law, who are basically born into these aristocracy families, and it's not something you can change by your wealth, because I know a lot of, from the YouTube videos anyway, a lot of people who were part of that club but still weren't given the designation. So it's unknown at this time, but I think XRP and physical silver and a physical deed to your house are the best protection that you can have from CBDCs.
Perfectly well said. Okay, so this is where we're gonna get into the fun topics. So I watched your videos, and I watched them a lot as well, because there's a lot of great things to learn from them. So I watched your videos and started to connect the dots, right, about XRP and XLM being interplanetary payments. So have you seen the recent David Schwartz tweets and what they mean? Do you see a connection between them? And what are your thoughts? So his tweets about, that he's been posting a lot of, I would say, like space tweets, images, and things like that. So what do you think about those?
110%, I think he's referring to that. In one of his tweets in 2019, he said, and if XRP is used on other planets, and people are scratching their head like, huh? Other planets? XRP being used in other planets? And basically, I went to a deep dive, and I found out there was too much things to ignore. Firstly, PayPal Galactic is linked with Stellar. You have Stellar, the name itself, Stellar, referring to a group of stars. The Interstellar movie has the same symbology. You can see here that the symbol of Stellar is actually Saturn with its ring, right? And you can see, as an example, things like Constellation DAG, Constellation, a group of stars. What's the wallet called? Stargazer. And if you keep on actually looking, you'll find more instances of references to stars. But people say, oh, that's just symbology, you're overlooking. Okay, think about it like this. At some point, we have to, go into space, okay? And whether you believe space exists or not doesn't matter. The point is, low Earth orbit, other realms, doesn't matter. But the point is, eventually we're going to have to get out. And we're going to need to actually pay people that are in these places, right? So naturally, are you going to use Australian dollar in space? Are you going to use American dollar? Is that even acceptable up there? And so people are saying, well, eventually a galactic currency is needed, that something that's agnostic, supranational, is not defined by borders, that can be used in space. And, there's talks about David Schwartz and Brad Garlinghouse meeting in places like Antarctica, which, you would scarcely believe. Well, I mean, why would they be? What are they doing, making agreements with penguins? Like, why would they be in Antarctica? Why did they put a node in Antarctica? Basically, I started going more and more, and I found out that actually there was their goal is to create a kind of intergalactic type remittance that works on offline technology that doesn't need internet. They state it's done through XPOP, which is an offline technology. They say uses animated QR technology, but even the HBAR logo is actually a kind of like a space explorer ship. It's got the little the capsule, and then the four kind of panels spreading out, or the 6 panels spreading out. And I did a video on that, and there's actually a movie called I think it was Moonfield or something. I can't remember the exact Moonfall. And that movie actually shows the Quant spaceship actually very clearly. Moving across. So we can see through all the ISO coins, XRP, XLM, Constellation DAG, HBAR Quant, all of these have these kind of symbologies. Sorry, I think I meant quant for the logo. I think I may have said HBAR, but quant. Sorry, what I meant is quant. So yeah, long story short, I think my gut feeling is they have their eyes not just on tokenizing the financial markets, but at some point we need a value of exchange for paying people in space, basically.
Yep, perfectly well said statement, and I'll have to agree with that as well because it would make no sense. Just like you said, it could be a little fun joke to post pictures here and there, but when everything correlates and comes together in a way where you didn't expect it, it's not coming together as a joke. When you connect all these dots and then you get the answer that you are hoping to get, and it really becomes true, then we're not out here reaching for answers. The answers are literally out there. You just have to open your eyes and look for it. But it is very interesting to see how they will implement that with seeing it as an interplanetary currency. I would love to be around here. Hopefully it is in our lifetime if that gets implemented, but it would be very, very interesting to see. And we do have some hints, just like you said, in the movies and in newspaper articles, and there's been a couple articles about Stellar back in around 2000, early 2000, and ending of 1990, if I'm not mistaken, but I could pull it out. And all these articles, all these words, all these references are not coincidentally put together. I just wanted to add that on there.
Of course, and even Ripple produced an ad called the Got It ad, would actually show an astronaut in space, basically saying, "Yep, I got the payment." And we can see stellar lumens. What does stellar lumens means? It basically means starlight. Okay, so we've got the name corresponding to the diagram. We've also got Ripple. Some people are saying the two, the X and the X, basically is the shape of a water molecule up and down, and they say water's above, water's below, and basically, look at the water connotations. You've got swell, you got drops, you got ripple. All of these are water motifs, water references to water, and like I said before, constellation. Even the symbol. The name of it. What they're trying to do. The advertisements. At some point we have to come and together with David Schwartz tweets about other planets using XRP. We have to accept the fact that this is what they're planning. And I'm going to even be even more controversial. I'm going to say that XRP and XLM and all these other technologies are back-engineered black budget products. And I think there's some YouTubers who are stating that XRP was not created, it was rediscovered, basically, or back-engineered. And it's a technology apparently what was used before, but now we're kind of jumping on that technology. Just like laser technology, they say was back engineered. And some people are saying that that's what we're trying to do.
Yep. I have to agree with that controversial statement because even in the military, we see all these crazy crafts undetected by radar, and even some of them have came out and said this was back in January. We did not have the technology back then. And there's still technologies in the military that we have no clue about. And if they have reached to that extension, and Ripple has came out with this more than a decade ago, at least to the public's eyes, more than a decade ago, then the technology could not have lived back there or been created back then. It must have been created a long time ago. They just taken all that time to back engineer it. So I do have to, again, agree with that statement. Perfectly well said. Okay. 2 more questions. Very, very interesting. I want to keep this going for a long time, but we do have to cut it at one point. So what role do you think crypto or XRP Riddlers play in the crypto community?
I basically believe they're all psyops, psychological operations. They claim they're insiders that are, voluntarily giving us all this, information. Time and time again, they're proven to be wrong. Bubba Cugs, Mr. Paul. The purpose of putting Riddlers, I think, is to psychologically foster and accelerate adoption so that we're more acceptable to accepting CBDCs, digital payments, and actually get people excited about cryptocurrency. So I think their goal is to create this buzz, to create engagement, but they're basically psychological operations, and I don't think they mean well. A lot of people are saying, Bubba Cugs is our friend, Mr. Paul is our friend. Basically, if you're our friend, you would just tell us straight up, if you're an insider, exactly what's going on, exactly when it's going to go down, exactly what's happening, but they won't. They play these games and stuff, and my view is 100% that I'm convinced that they are psyops. Just like I believe John Deedon is a psyop. Many people don't question his background. He's a former military industrial complex person. He's got a military background. He was a second lieutenant, former Marine. Suddenly this guy comes out of nowhere, unelected XRP savior, asks for everyone's signature, 75,000, and keeps parroting everything Brad Garlinghouse says, doesn't really bring anything new, doesn't really hold, anyone accountable. And he doesn't mention the previous settlements with XRP2 and FinCEN. He basically sounds like he's just planted there for a purpose. Some people are saying he's put there for a buyback. Some people are saying he's put there to make it seem like there's an adversary. But I'm not comfortable with Ripple having these yacht parties, celebrating, and as you said, going around the world doing their thing, and then this John Deedon guy is saying, SEC and all this stuff. It just seems like he's out of the loop. So basically, I think they're all psyops.
Yeah. There does seem to be a lot of out of the loop, but I feel like for them, at least the ones that don't show their face and they're Riddlers, I feel they definitely don't get it right, the dates, but maybe it's just a show for them, who knows? They just out here doing something, but just like you said, it completely makes sense because they're out here to try to entice the public and get us a little bit excited, because if they say, guys, in the next 2 weeks, or they might not say it in this way, maybe a little decoded, but in the next 2 weeks, prepare for the lawsuit to end and 5 digits XRP, and then everyone will be like, wow, even people that don't know about XRP, and you tell your friend like, hey, this person told me about this, excited, let me jump in XRP, and then 2 weeks later the price tanks like 2-3%, and then all that excitement just dies down, and then it slowly gets revived up again. So basically, your emotions are the market inside of you. Your emotions get up, and then you go upside, you're a bull run, and your emotions come down. You're just a bear market. So we have the markets in real life, and you are the market yourself. So I would have to agree with that, saying just be careful what you look at out there and do your own due diligence. Again, this is not about not financial advice situation, but whatever you're taking a look at, are they truly telling you for what it is for? And speaking about the John Eden statement, it makes complete sense about the buyback situation, because for me, at least from my eyes as well, he just came out of nowhere. I was just shocked when this whole XRP lawsuit happened, and then I seen him saying, hey, if you want the lawsuit and if you want to join, you can send me all this. And I was like, what's going on? I don't even know who this guy was a couple of days ago, and then now out of nowhere he is an XRP lawyer. So I believe every person has a role to play, but if we pay attention to what roles they're playing, and if we see the actions of the bankers and the Ripple CEO and leaders and what they speak about versus what they're tweeting about, then we can truly see where the world is headed with this new technology.
You stated it perfectly. I would agree with that.
So, as everything, there comes a day to end this amazing, knowledgeful, beautiful segment and interview. We have one more question for our friend CryptoRick. We have to let him go on his way, guys. We can't hold on to him any longer. He has a life like everybody else. So we're going to ask him this one last question. And where do you see XRP or XLM in the next 10 to 30 years? So just thinking the long-term perspective.
Yeah. Look, I think XRP and XLM will go to very high prices, in despite the private ledger shenanigans. I think it can easily hit anywhere between 1,000 and 100,000. Now, obviously, I can say it goes up to 1 million, but whether that's reflective of the private or the public, we shall see. Basically, what I envision it to be used as is I envisage people going to space motels, space hotels, space tourism, and I could see, as you board off the ship, a lady has a QR code and says scan, and you can use XRP or XLM or fiat money, which then converts it to that. And pretty much being used as the payment, or if a company wants to pay their employees in space, they can kind of do that from the ground. I see it basically used in everyday life. Payroll, as an example, a lot of employees, paying them using the Stellar rail tracks and giving you your monthly wages in CBDCs that run on either the XRP or the Stellar. But as I said, I think eventually XRP and XLM are going to be used for greater purposes than we had ever imagined. And it's going to encompass all aspects of life, whether it's work, play, space, data. I think it's going to be at the center of the financial institution, and it's in your best interest to hold and to see where it goes, I guess.
So the future seems bright for XRP or XLM, but we have, again, we'll discuss about different topics next time, but very, very insightful interview. We have a lot to say about this, and, I appreciate you for coming on the show. And the future is very bright as we speak. We may transcend into the future and go to interplanetary missions, but hopefully they're not tyrannical. But we shall see. We don't know the future. We don't know what it holds. But we will be prepared for those days. But I do appreciate you, CryptoRick, for coming on to this channel, UL Exchange. And anybody that's new to this channel, or if you've seen him before or you haven't, please go ahead and subscribe to this channel. A link is in the description below. And anything else you would like to say?
No, I just want to thank you for having me on your channel. I really appreciate it, and hopefully we can get more people to discuss about these things. Obviously, if you want to find me, I am YouTube suppressed, so the best way of finding me is typing in CryptoRick, and there's a lot of CryptoRicks out there, so just make sure you find the one with the golden arch. But otherwise, and I really thank you for having me on the show.
Thank you. All right, guys, you see all the Stellar in the back as well. If you're interested, check out his merch store. See you guys later.